Look, the audio's not gonna be perfect. Fuck you. I don't know what to make of it. Do you? Tea and crumpets it is. And then I got something to say about all this. Are we French? Fine. I'll take it. Look, this is the kind of situation that we're sending them into. If you don't know who I'm talking about, this video is probably not for you. So you can fuck right off. But this is how we're treating them. And it's even worse. Because we don't even have a fucking plan at all. We don't have a plan. And so people are gonna die, and their lives are gonna be worthless, and they're gonna be motes of dust. They're gonna be fucking on the beach, drone FPV video. Everybody's going to scream. And there was no reason. There was no reason for all of this. And this is the end of the illusion of fucking democracy, democratic republic, whatever the fuck you think is going on. If you think you're gonna vote your way out of this, you're fucking delusional. You're going to a No Kings protest. That is a monument to better visions of more benign empire, where you are completely seduced by comforts of slavery and genocide. Everything in your life is built on a foundation of holocausts, and you're fine with that. So I gotta ask you at a certain point, are you at least willing to admit that your whole crock of bullshit was just that? And that we're really just animals seeking material comforts and power? Are you fundamentally a reactionary conservative in your view? Do you have no belief in a material dialectic and a science of history and an effort to bring about, if not a better future, at least a softer landing? But we've dispensed with even these and decided to hit the accelerator and throw accelerant on the fire. And so we're gonna have to reap what we're sowing there. No one's gonna like what results. No one's gonna want to live in a world of iceless Arctic and Amazon deserts and acid oceans, but hey, here we are. And since we're cutting off the energy flows at least 20 to 30%, and not in a way that's like, oh, let me pull the lever and it'll be turned off and I can always just pull the lever and turn it back on. No, no, no. I'm gonna blow up. I'm not gonna. I'm not doing any of this. Like, I say we, like a global international community or whatever. The United States, first and foremost, and Israel, and Iran in kind, are bombing energy infrastructure, both extraction and processing, liquid natural gas trains, the kinds of metals and technology that take time and intensive resources to build. There's not going to be all that sour crude that the world has been depending on. There's not going to be all that sulfur. There's not going to be all that sulfuric acid. There's not going to be all that fuel for ammonia fertilizer, urea fertilizer. We're not going to have helium, like 40% of the world's helium, so we're not going to be able to supercool our semiconductors so that they can run without electrical resistance. We're not going to be able to cool the magnets in MRIs. That's the M part of the magnetic part. We're not going to be able to anticipate all of the nth order consequences that are coming our way as a result of these seizures and economic bullwhipping effects that will come about by way of these supply shocks, because the strait is cut off, the resources are destroyed, they're not coming back. Some of these categories have more buffering capacity than others, but it's still on the order of weeks to months to a year or so that will be looking at unignorable consequences that affect everyday life. And that's just the beginning of wherever we're going. Because something like that, something like such a cascade and rippling through of network effects is exactly what we can already expect given what has already occurred. That is not to consider at all what it means for us to continue this for another 2 weeks, for another 2 years, for another 20 years perhaps, for another quagmire's worth of expenditure and loss and human life and blood and treasure. We're in for it. We are in for the end of an empire. We are in for diminishing marginal returns. We're in for falling rates of profit. We're in for complexity spirals. And we're also in for industrialized holocaust, a mass liquidation phase. And none of this had to happen. And we're not even able to assess whether it's all of the above reasons between imperial extractivism, colonial extractivism, racism, supremacy, security, competition run awry, is to say the least, annihilatory aims, Armageddon, seeking Armageddon, eschatological frameworks and aims. Literally trying to bring about the end of days. And look, here, this game, part of the problem, part of the extractivism, part of the metals, part of the slavery network, a representation of exactly that, of empire forcing young people to die in such a way as is wantonly wasteful of entire communities' worth of human life within moments, arbitrary battles for pieces of land that you'll fight over again, where more lives will be lost for no gain, or for gains of mere inches and feet, whichever metric. Blood and death, blood and treasure. Waste upon waste of human life, of the world's wealth of resources, of minerals, of trees, of air to breathe and clean water to drink. And we have seriously imperiled the reliability of all of those things. And for many people on Earth, they're already inaccessible and have been. And for more, they are becoming this way. And it is coming for us. And it is by our own making, it is by our own doing, it is by our own hands. And we're returning to wars and trenches with drones and barbed wire fences. We're returning to liquidation phases where power is everything and life lost is nothing. In fact, it is even perhaps gained. And it is all built on a machine of war for profit, profit for war. And you don't even know what you're fighting for. And you're dying out here. And they're blowing you up. And it's the Nazis running the show. And I know Kaiser Wilhelm's people aren't Nazis per se, but when you ask how much does it cost to keep this person alive, when you ask what does it mean to not be able to provide for the state or your family or yourself and need help, are you worth keeping around? To ask what does it mean to allow diverse forms of humanity and cultural expression and being, when in their conception there is but one acceptable monocultural form and expression of validity, and it is their white supremacist ideology. It is their domineering pretense to religion. It is worship of power and wealth for power. And we're all twisted up in the game. How many fucking bullets do I have? Jesus! $82 meters unscoped, not bad. Yeah, and we enjoy killing and the simulation of killing. We enjoy working on the problem of how to build a better bomb. It's fun. It's interesting. Or tricks with finance, how to rob from the future, create financial magic that robs resources from tomorrow. Future generations have nothing. We've killed the world several times over and have dramatically reduced what there is of wild nature in comparison to just 200 years ago, when at that time ecologists and natural philosophers were already saying the world had been killed. And if we had taken all of the all of the resources and wealth that went into fighting World War I, we would still be clothing and feeding and educating and caring for humans on Earth today with those funds. Instead, we use them to waste humans in spectacular fashion, in ugly, transformative, disfiguring, dramatic fashion. We have allowed the shadow of greed to overtake us. We are nothing but pawns in the cruel designs of our criminal ruling class. The Nazis roll over. Roll over. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows.